Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We'd also like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the running of the BBC and Channel 4. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. In today's video, we will be revealing evidence of the supposedly neutral, license fee-funded BBC, leading the frontline in attacking the newly elected Labour Prime Minister, on behalf of the pro-Trump, right-wing US media moguls looking to subjugate the UK. For the record, we are independent, and didn't vote for either party at the last election, so this is not about defending Labour. It is about the fact that, to make itself more attractive to potential suitors made up of right-wing US media moguls, the BBC is attacking the Labour Party while grading the Conservatives on a curve. As we have demonstrated in previous videos on our sister channel, NS&C, once the Tory government under Boris Johnson signalled their intention to sell off the BBC and Channel 4 to their patron, the US billionaire media mogul who owns F1, both channels swung dramatically to the right, in violation of their public charter. The commercial media have long split down supposedly ideological lines, but this is mostly a marketing strategy, otherwise the likes of Piers Morgan would not have been able to cross seamlessly from the right-wing Sun to the supposedly left-wing Mirror. Or both sides of the supposedly ideological divide would not have been engaged in phone hacking. The supposedly non-commercial BBC and Channel 4 were founded on the principle of neutrality and editorial independence from owners, so it is a sign of the times that they have now openly tilted to the right, in preparation for being privatized. For us, the BBC's tilt to the right was unveiled by their coverage of F1, and in particular, the theft of Lewis Hamilton's 8th title in Abu Dhabi. Now, as any sane observer could and can tell, he was robbed. There are no ifs, buts, or maybes. We and many like James Atkins have produced several videos on the subject that the mainstream media have tried to gaslight. But because of Malone's influence and the right-wing ideology of the commercial broadcasters, there was a spirited attempt to gaslight the robbery of the only black driver in Formula One. It was in the commercial interest of the Comcast-owned Sky, who were the official F1 broadcasters, to go along with their frenemy Malone. But, it was seeing the supposedly non-commercial and neutral BBC and Channel 4, in the vanguard of the gaslighting, that alerted us to the fact that they had been taken over by Malone, even before the projected sale. There is no other possible explanation for why the BBC and Channel 4 would work together to sell the same outrageous lie that Malone had instigated. If they were being true to their public charter, they would have told the truth. However, 3 years later, with all the kickbacks that the BBC executives were projected to make from the Tories selling to Malone, having been punctuated by a Labour landslide, one can see how those executives are feverishly trying to return a Tory government to power. The question is, are Keir Starmer and his culture minister aware of what is happening? Surely, Lisa should have demanded that the BBC provide her with a report on the cancelled Boris Johnson interview, because of how severely it has damaged the public trust in the broadcaster. The extent of the public distrust is clear from their responses to Laura Kuenssberg's own tweet about the cancellation. That condescending explanation is an obvious cover-up that insults the intelligence, so the culture minister should be demanding a report on behalf of the license fee payer. The truth is in the detail, and in order to begin the process of restoring public faith, Lisa should publicly require the BBC to state exactly how Laura came to send the message. Her cavalier attitude to the cancellation clearly indicates that it was done on the instructions of her superiors, and in the expectation of their protection. Of course, Starmer deserves to be criticised for not denying himself freebies while denying winter fuel payments to pensioners. But for the BBC to do so, while providing a demonstrably worse Johnson, with the platform to resurrect a badly discredited political career, in the expectation that he would then reinstate the sale of the BBC to Malone, so that the BBC executives can enjoy the financial rewards of shepherding the transition, is something else. It is akin to the Russian oligarchs who amassed tremendous wealth by shepherding the privatization of Russian public assets. Our conclusion that the BBC is committed to discrediting the Prime Minister for theirs and Malone's benefit is further strengthened by the outrageous piece in the F1 section of BBC Sport titled, "How many free sports tickets have Starmer and MPs received?" Firstly, why is BBC Sport weighing in on this topic? Secondly, why are they only doing it now? Surely this is a practice that has been common across the political spectrum for ages. Thirdly, why is the piece not featured on the BBC Sport homepage, or the football section, instead of being highlighted in the F1 section? After all, the football freebies were the headlines, and Starmer did not receive any F1 freebies. In fact, the only disclosed F1 freebies went to 5 unnamed MPs, with 4 of them coming from the Conservative Party. Perhaps, just perhaps, this might explain why the Labour opposition ignored what was done to Sir Lewis back in 2021. But unfortunately for them, it now appears that the same folks, behind smearing Sir Lewis's merited dominance and gaslighting Abu Dhabi, while promoting Crashtappen's fake dominance, are behind BBC Sport F1, smearing Starmer with the freebie scandal while shielding Boris and the Conservatives from similar scrutiny. It also explains why Boris, who has received exponentially greater freebies, is the face of the media criticism of Keir. Quite aside for the mind-blowing hypocrisy, he is not the leader of the opposition, nor is he one of the current contenders for that job, so why is he the headliner for all the right-wing media? To further underscore the Malone link to the targeted smearing of Starmer, the BBC article, which comes under the football section, with links to several other disparaging articles in the news section, has its highest profile thumbnail on the Formula One homepage. Could this be because that is where Malone's agents have the highest profile or freedom? Whatever the case may be, a situation where the BBC is openly engaged in, or can be perceived to be openly engaged in, spinning the news to fit a predefined narrative, is damaging to the public trust in the organisation. When their perceived objective is to bring about a change in government, so that they can line their pockets, then Starmer and Nandi need to pull their fingers out sharpish to fix the BBC, before the BBC fixes them. The so-called freebie scandal was broken by the Comcast-owned Sky News, who also broke the story of Boris's record-breaking £1 million donation. So how has the news been spun such that Boris is the one leading the criticism of Starmer? It is not a coincidence that the Malone-backed GB News and BBC have jumped in alongside the Murdoch-owned Sun newspaper and Talk TV to use Boris as the headliner for criticising Keir. It is a right-wing conspiracy to subvert the will of the public so that they can return Boris and his party to power. Somewhat reminiscent of the way they conspired to gaslight the theft of Lewis Hamilton's 8th title. But the icing on the cake is the entry of Trump-loving, immigrant-hating, descendant of white African immigrants, and first-generation American immigrant, Elon Musk. The current owner of Twitter, the platform that monetizes right-wing hatred, has also picked a fight with the UK Prime Minister on the specious claim that he operates a two-tier policing policy that discriminates against right-wing extremists. It is as if the right wing have declared open season on the UK, in a furious backlash to the Tory landslide loss. Just like they were united in gaslighting the theft of Sir Lewis's 8th title, for the benefit of Crashtappen, they are equally united in damaging Starmer while promoting Boris. The question is the Prime Minister going to take them on, or is he going to bend the knee?